So, welcome everybody to the Mysterium podcast. I am with, so you've got myself, you've got
Brady
and
Matthew.
And Liam.
So we are sitting.
Thanks for having us here, Neil.
Anytime, man, anytime. So, well, it's been an interesting couple of days, hey?
Yeah.
With just sitting there and, well, coming to this hostel.
Pretty lucky to run into each other, honestly.
Yeah, because it was just this kind of, I came down and you were the only person here. And at the time it was just, is this it for this hostel, you know?
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah, it was a bit crazy. I think we had a good time today, though, didn't we?
Today was a good day. We met these, a few more Canucks like myself.
Canucks, is that what you call?
Yeah, it's definitely how we call it Canadians. We don't use it a lot, but it's definitely how you call it Canadians. Yeah.
Canucks.
Canucks. It's like a nickname.
Is that just between Canadians kind of thing?
Kind of, but there's a hockey team named after it, so it's not just like us. It's like the Vancouver Canucks is Vancouver, like kind of different way to say Canadians. Yeah.
Oh,
It's kind of the same as like Americans and Yankees.
But
I
do
think.
Americans call each other Yanks? I know that UK kind of, you Yanks, and and like Australians call them Yanks.
I don't know. I think it's kind of just slang, really.
Yeah, fair enough. But like certain places have certain, like I know that in the UK, in Australia, they call them, what are they called? They call UK people pommies. But like, I don't know where that's from, and I know that's like pom.
It's kind of like how the Australians call the people who are from New Zealand. They call them Kiwis. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah.
We call them Kiwis as well.
They
call
definitely
themselves
don't
Kiwis.
They call themselves Kiwis, so I guess it's kind of like our Canucks. I guess I don't know. Yeah,
Fair
I'd
enough.
say so.
But I think we had a good day today. I think going out and exploring.
A
And
lot of walking.
my legs are dead. My legs are dead, to be
These
honest.
beers are going to taste pretty good tonight, I think.
So what I'm on the tropical juice like a proper hard man at the moment. But what are you guys drinking?
Belgian beer, it's called Jupiler. It's very original, I guess. It's very cheap and good here. A lot of people like it. For
About
sure.
€5 for 6 beer.
That's well, I guess so. Is it because do you know what? I don't drink beer. Like the last beer I drank was like 3 or 4 years ago. Genuinely,
Wouldn't last too long in Canada, I don't think.
No. I think the average time between beers, kind of, the longest time is probably when you go to bed and wake up. No, no. No, it's pretty common back home. Yeah, especially with all the sports around us. It's a pretty big thing in our lives. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's regardless. Do you know what? That was one thing actually. When I went to Dubai, they didn't actually have any because there is alcohol there, but it's not. It's a bit funny to buy alcohol. So when we went to Dubai, it was really weird. So they had the sports there, and normally it's quite. People are there. Come on, get behind your team if they're watching it on TV, and everybody's sitting there with a shisha pipe, just kind of sitting there smoking it, and it was the weirdest experience I've ever seen about beer. Without, so I've seen sports without alcohol, but like in the UK, you kind of, if you go to a football game, you go to the pub beforehand, you have a drink, then you go to the game, you have another drink, and then if regardless if you win or lose, you either drown your sorrows or you go. It's kind of, you keep drinking. So I had this thing where I was telling you, like, where Leicester were in the Champions League,
Right.
so we're in the top. So the last game we've ever played in the Champions League, so we're top 8. We lost, so we were out of the cup. So we all went to the bar afterwards, and I was like, my uncle took me. He went home. So I just met some other people that are wearing the same. We call them jerseys. We call football shirts.
Yeah, jerseys in Canada
shirts
too.
as me.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, sorry. So I just went, common ground. Let's talk. Oh, sorry, to hear about it. So next thing I know, they go, oh, well, we're heading off to town. Do you want to come? And I went, yeah, sure. Next thing I know, at 3 a.m, we're best friends, and they've invited me back to a barbecue the next day. But it's just
At their house or something?
Yeah, just at their house, and I was like, I'm all right, but I've got to head off. I think because it was on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night, so I had to get back to work. So it was, yeah. I think alcohol and sports go right hand in hand.
I
sure.
completely agree with that.
Matt and I went to an Alouettes game, the Montreal Alouettes, and that was the middle of the
Canadian football.
day. Canadian Football League. It was a Sunday before going back to school on a Monday. We just arrived. We go to from Knowlton, Montreal. It's an hour drive. Then we arrive in Montreal. We go to his uncle's house. We have a couple drinks there, little pre-drinks to not spend too much. And then we get there, just buy a couple beers. It just keeps on going, and then next thing you know, we start yelling at players.
And also keep in mind this is probably at 1 p.m. So we're talking. This is an early game, so you wake up, you get into the car, and I think we had a night before. No. Liam over here didn't have breakfast, so he starts.
No meal today. I'm already drinking like
No
5
meal,
deep,
yeah.
and I'm like, fuck.
It was a hard
hit
time.
home.
Yeah. He was hitting home, but it was a fun game to watch, and I think it definitely brings another element because it brings you out of like, you don't think about what's around you, and you're not too shy to shout whatever you want to shout at the players, and it's what makes the atmosphere a lot better in my opinion.
So, what's the best game you've ever been to? As like, or like not made the best game, but not the best winning, but
sports game?
yeah, just the best kind of what's it called? A best game that the most memorable game, let's say. No, not necessarily your first, but a game that you were losing, then you beat coming to win or something like that.
You were losing, then you.
As in like, this is. I'm glad I'm not drinking. Hey.
My favorite. Okay. Well.
What's your favorite game you've ever been to?
2 summers ago, we went to Fenway Park, the Boston Red Sox, the baseball team.
Okay.
And just the history and the atmosphere there was just insane. Like every Bostonian was drunk and just screaming at their own players. Like I thought it was. At first I couldn't even focus on the game. I was just like kind of looking around. Like it was something else. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to a baseball game before.
Never.
No. But what about you boys?
Well, I have like this really unlucky thing that I joke around with my dad because we go see a lot of NHL games, hockey games, and he thinks it's me. I think it's him. But we always bring the game we're at to overtime and shootout. I think it was like my first 10 games he brought me to. That was how long it took to break the streak. So how long it took to break the streak. Sorry. And when we were at the games, it starts at 7 p.m. When you finish overtime shootout, it's like 11:30. And keep in mind, I was pretty young when I first went. So he's driving back alone. I would always sleep. And then he's like, obviously he's legal limit to drive, but that's an hour after when that late at night after a big sports game, you get tired. So it's tough on him. And sometimes he'd want to leave a bit earlier. He wants the game to, let's blow him out and then leave the last 3 minutes before because it won't change the end of the game or something like that. Didn't happen one time in the first 10 because we'd always go to overtime and shootout. So I'd say those are pretty memorable, but they kind of the same. And then there was that one time I went to Dallas, Texas for a football game. I was pretty young. I was only 8 or 9, I think. So I don't have the biggest memories of it, but I just remember being in a stadium with like 100,000 people, and you just all gathered around this one field and watched the players, and it was a good experience. We got to have supper with the players before as part of our package, and yeah, there's like every time my dad went earlier, and he had the wide receiver course, the receivers of the team. And then when we went, we had the linebackers, and we had supper with them. It's a big room, and then they're at their table having supper, and they signed a bunch of stuff, and it was a really cool experience. Yeah, it was definitely something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
I had an experience similar to that with having dinner. It was when I went to the London 2012 Olympics. So what happened is that there's a food court called Westfield, where they built it brand new. And what it was is there's KFC, McDonald's, Subway, whatever it is, and all of it is free for any athletics person, because the idea is if you give a free meal for like $9.99, but then the paparazzi catch them with like a Subway voucher or McDonald's voucher, it's great publicity for free. So we were sitting with the entire Hungarian basketball team, and these guys were
just munching on some McDonald's for free.
They were huge. They were at least like 6'8", the huge people, and they were sitting, and it was like, they have like a table with the little stools, right? The guy was sitting with his legs wide apart like a spider like this, and he had a Big Mac stacked high, like 8 of them. And he was just sitting there, one in each hand, talking in Hungarian and just munching the burgers as he goes. And I just remember thinking, these are human beings that are this tall. And they're built, I can't describe.
What sport was it? Basketball?
Yeah, because they had the you would call the jersey, the shirt on with the Hungarian, the flag and like the sports and stuff. And I think in the Olympics you're not allowed. They didn't have any sponsors or anything. But that was crazy for me.
So another experience I had, I guess we're on topic of eating with professional athletes. Last summer I was in Toronto, just me and my buddy. We were going to go to a Blue Jays game, a baseball game again. And we were just at Boston Pizza, of all places. You boys know Boston Pizza. And who else shows up but Drew Doughty just walks in the bar and sits right beside me and my buddy. And we just, and for you, Neil, you don't know, Drew Doughty's a professional hockey player. He's pretty well known around. Yeah, so we were just shooting the shit. And then, so where I'm from, Prince Edward Island, there's an athlete named Dion Phaneuf. He's from around there. And he's kind of like I don't know what you'd call him. He's kind of like the butt of the joke in a lot of hockey things. So actually, Drew Daddy was kind of chirping Dion with us, and they're on the same team. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So I think is this your first time like traveling for all three of you outside of Canada properly?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like this is the first time I've gone outside of North America, definitely, and even in the U.S. I haven't really gone to many places. I went to Texas that one time in this previous story. I went to New York a couple times, but other than that, I went to Boston once for a Guns N' Roses concert. That was a very memorable event. But other than that, I haven't really been in many places in the U.S. or out of Canada, really.
Well, I've been to Europe probably 6 years ago now. I just came on a school trip. We had 10 days through Brussels, Paris, and London. But it wasn't, I don't know, it was too structured, I felt. I didn't really get to experience the culture of the cities or meet the people. So coming back, I think, was something that I always wanted to do. And now I guess I have the time and money to do it.
Yeah, I've been to Mexico with my family like 9 years ago, but on like a star hotels. Like this is definitely completely different. It's a really good experience going on your own and exploring the rest of the world.
So what lessons have you learned? Because obviously I've learned a lot, just kind of, because a lot of the times when I first traveled, I didn't think about how to get from the airport to even though it was a good hostel, just like it was city centre, but that was enough. But like lessons like that I've kind of learned. But is there any lessons that you've learned or things that now you're doing it by yourself, you realise how much, not want to say stress, but the independence, like you've got to sort out everything yourself, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think we're really lucky these days to have the modern technology that we have, because that makes it so we pretty much.
How they did it back in the day, the 80s, like the backpack, and it just doesn't even make sense to me. Because now, like you're saying, technology, but you hear stories about backpackers, like they come with a book with a map, maybe. Yeah, just insane, but.
Yeah, my mom would talk about it, and she had like a list of hostels in the countries, and they go out and they have to find them, which I find is insane, because now technology makes it so easy. I can open an app with a list of hostels. I could sort them by price or by whatever value for money that they put, and I just pick the one that I want, and then from that take the address that's there, book it first of all, and then take the address that's there, put it into Google Maps, find how to get there, and then we just go. And then now, we're doing our whole trip with the URL pass.
Yeah.
So that gives us a pretty good independent aspect to look at it, except for, that's transport covered. You don't think of those things. I think coming back to your question was the lessons that you learned. It's just the little things in life that consists of a full day of just living that when you're home you don't think of.
Yeah.
But because you have all the resources back home, like I say, for example, I live with my parents. I've got, their car they lend me so I can go do my things. I work, I do that. Here, you have to book where you're sleeping. You don't normally think of how to sleep, and it kind of hits home when you see the people out in the streets, and you're like, they struggle with that. And meanwhile, you're lucky enough to be able to pay to get into a hostel and just stay there for the night. And I've been really pleasantly pleased. I don't know if you can say that, but I've been really pleased.
Surprised.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised or just pleased with how nice the hostels are. Like, I think they're amazing, and we're really lucky to be able to do this. And I think the lesson that comes in is every little thing that you need to think of to make your day. I think that's why I learned that there's so much more than when you just have everything and you get into the routine. You don't think of how much goes into, okay, I need transportation to get there. I need money to be able to do this. I need a roof over my head at night. I need this. So, yeah.
Fair enough. And I think you guys were in, I don't think you were, Brady, but you were experienced St. Paddy's Day in Ireland. Did you know what? It's a big deal in America, in Canada, in Europe, in England. It's not. Genuinely, it's like people go, oh, okay, it's St. Paddy's Day. Oh, it's any excuse to go out, but it's not a big thing. I think you were saying like the amount of Irish people that were actually out was like you didn't meet any. It was
no, there's all tourists, but it's also funny because I think that it's not special for them because they get to take in their Irish culture. I kind of think every day. But for people like us who, I have a smaller percentage than Liam, but Liam's got an alright percentage of this Irish descent from when the famine happened. They went to Canada, they went to U.S., they went to Australia, some went to South Africa, And then those people relate back like, okay, these are where my ancestors first came from. And then that's why we kind of feel like, okay, this is our culture, let's live it. But they get to live it every day. And the only thing that they have different is the parade, except for other than parade, you can go out and get a couple pints with your friends any night when they're there, except for when we go up and see it and we see all the green everywhere that they probably have all the time, and they have their colors of their flag. It's special for us, but it might not be special for them. So I think that's why they feel it a bit less.
Like back home, well, I have a bit of Irish blood, but me and my family, we'll have a big supper, I guess, and we'll all wear green, we'll celebrate that way, but we don't do much else than that. And coming here and seeing that, I can't say I felt like home because I'm not Irish really, but I have a bit. It just felt like, wow,
But the ancestry is really important, where you come from. It's really, I think, cool to see your roots and understand what those people went through.
It's so different. In Canada, we'll celebrate St. Patrick's Day, at school and in the streets are crazy, but people are celebrating because it's St. Patrick's Day, it's a big day, but no one's Irish there. They just do it just to have fun and drink. So it's really just fun to see
Any excuse to drink.
It's an excuse to drink, but here it's actually for a big cause. No one works the next day. It's actually a holiday, and people take it seriously. It's actually really nice to see and experience yourself.
So, but so far is that, well, I know you've got a load of countries that you can do, and I think we're both in the beginning of, and I'm still at this position where I'm not sure if I'm going to do, because I'm getting inspired just by you guys, the amount of countries that you're doing, but I'll see when I get back.
How many countries are you guys doing?
I think we've originally planned 6 countries, but since we're averaging out around 1 week per country, we have 7 weeks. We're probably going to add Portugal to that for our 7th week.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think last count, I think I had 18 or 19 countries that I'm going to be into. Yeah, over 2 months. Jesus. But I'm not doing a week at a time. I'm moving fast. 2, 3 nights, 4 nights the max everywhere I go. Yeah.
You won't have time to settle in each
no,
place. So
I'm going to be exhausted when I get home. I think back to Canada, I'm just going to sleep for a week straight.
Yeah. Especially with the jet lag, that will kill you going back. But so are you getting planes and stuff for the most? Or are you getting Eurostar for the most point? Or
well, when I take my plane from Paris to Portugal, then the rest of the way is train. Yeah, I got the Eurail pass just like the boys, but I've just kind of been making do until then. I didn't want to activate my pass too early.
What does that? You saying that earlier? I don't know what that actually means.
Well, when you activate the pass, you guys had it pre-activated, I guess, but it just gives you the set dates that you're going to be traveling. So if I wait as long as possible, then it'll give me 2 months on the end of that, right? So I'm going to activate it tomorrow, which is the 25th. Mm-hmm. So then I can use it till May 25th in Europe. Yeah.
Because I've just booked individual trains there and back. But I guess it's easier being from the EU. So they look at your passport, whatever. I don't know if you've encountered anything that's any weird issues so far.
No, not really. Because if there's anything weird, it's how easy it is to use it. I think that I thought honestly, I was how do I use it? Who do I show it to? No, you just use it. And you walk around kind of it's weird, kind of you run the place, You can walk around you just keep in mind this pass will bring me pretty much anywhere. We were really lucky because we had a promotion during February, so that gave us basically a free upgrade to first class. So with that, you really go everywhere. Good. So there's one thing to go from train to train, but with that one, you can literally sit wherever you want on the train and you're good. So that kind of surprised me with how easy it was to use it. And I don't know how you got it, but we got it online, and then we got to pick our start date of our trip and our end date of our trip, and then that way it says it on the ticket. So our first date was March 13th or 14th, I think, and then our last date would be May 13th or 14th, and then it comes so that we use it for those 2 months as many times as we want, and then after that, at that end, first of all, we won't be here May 13th. We'll be already back home, so we won't even need to use it the whole 2 months, but then after that, it would stop, yeah.
Sounds good. So what's been the biggest culture shocks for you since you've been here? The biggest change of, I know it's been a bit of a change, but obviously me coming from England, it's not really that much of a change. I know when I went to America and America specifically, but what's been the biggest change for you?
It was a good question. Took me a while to think of it, but 100%, and this is going to sound like such an easy giveaway, was the driving on the right side of the road. That was a big culture shock because on the left side, because we drive on the right. Because when you look both ways for crossing the road, you've done it since you're a kid back home. left, right, left, across the road. Now you're walking here with all the one-ways. You never know where to look. The cars come out from literally. It felt like cars can come from literally anywhere. We're lost. Now we're back. Cars drive on the right. Peaceful world. We're good. But it was a big change for when we're.
Was that in Ireland then?
Yeah, Ireland.
Right?
Yeah, Ireland drive on the left.
Fair enough. I think. Well, that's for me. It was the opposite. I had to get used to the other way around. So I think there's only a few countries that actually drive on the left-hand side with the steering wheel on the right. So that was a big for me. The main issue is when I went to America was just the poverty for me was a huge thing. I know obviously Canada and America's different, but for me just seeing the homeless and how homeless they were. Like there was one time where I was in a subway. Well, I had a friend that was at a hostel, and he had the story as well. He was in the subway and as in like the sandwich shop. And he's sitting there, and this homeless guy comes in and comes up to him, and he just looks at him, and he goes, "Excuse me, mate," because he's eating this foot long, and he goes, "After you're finished with that, can I have the rest of it?" And he just looked at him and went, "Okay." I was like, he was expecting something more abrasive. This guy was just genuinely hungry and just genuinely wanted that. He goes, "How can you eat the other half?" And go, "Nah, I ain't got nothing." So he just gave him the other half, but that was one of the big shocks for me. Was like that, and just we were talking about the tipping earlier. We've just went out for dinner, which was, I think it was quite reasonable, quite nice with this spaghetti.
Anyone remember the name of the place?
No, I have no idea.
I can't remember. It was right across the road from the Pissing Baby.
Pissing Baby. Yeah, I guess it does a job, but yeah. But do you see how simple it is? Where that's the price, divide it by 4, boom, and then that's how easy it is.
And no expectation from the waitress either. She just kind of no.
And because they get paid the minimum wage, so then anything else is a bonus, but you don't have to tip. But it's weird, like when I was in Japan, that wage that they get, you don't tip on top. Because they consider it as, I pity you. Here's the extra tip, that you need this extra money. So they'll give you the tip back. They're like, what are you doing? I've heard, I didn't want to test out that theory. But at the time, I was like, yeah, you don't tip in Korea and Japan. You don't tip at all. But America, if you do tip, they'll chase you down to get that tip back.
Canada's the same way. It's industry standard about 15%, and in luxury restaurants, it's even higher nowadays.
Even not just luxurious, like it's not a law, but like it's like an unwritten law that people you have to follow.
Yeah.
Like if you don't tip 15%, like you're a dick. Like you're not respected. Like you're not a normal citizen, because
everyone has that friend that doesn't tip either, and they're just like, come on, man, like what are you doing? It looks really bad.
If I tip 10%, that's if the waitress did a really bad job, and that's really rare.
If they did a really bad job, then it's 10%.
Yeah, saying like they're just obnoxious and like not like say if they never come and ask you want more water or something. If they never come and see you and they said, "Oh, you want this? Okay, bye." Like then you're like, "Okay, fuck you." Like I'll give you less than 15%. I'm still tipping that person for doing her job. Like it's her job. Whatever.
It's because they get paid. Yeah, I was telling you in London, it's 10%, and that gets added to the bill automatically. If you want to tip anything else, by all means you can do. But that 10% is the standard, and that's only really in London. The rest of the country, it's the same as here. It's like you give that standard wage, and then if you want to tip, it's optional.
Another odd thing I found about London, I don't know if this is something around England as a whole, but you go into any restaurant, and you'll just be sitting at your table, like waiting for a waiter or a waitress to come up, but they just never show up. So then after a little bit, you just seeing people go up to the bar, and it finally clued in that you have to go up to the bar to actually order your food, and they'll take it to your table.
It depends on the type of restaurant.
Maybe, yeah.
Because if you go into a cheap one, sometimes, like if you go to a McDonald's, you're sitting there, go, well, where are you ordering? But some places, well, where were you go? Where was that specifically?
It was a restaurant. It was a nice restaurant.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They just I went up to the bar, and they give you like a card with a number on it and for your table. Yeah,
okay. That shouldn't be in a
that
nice
happened.
restaurant.
No, that happened 2 or 3 different times while we were there.
It was like Five Guys or something.
No, I wasn't that drunk.
No, that's definitely that shouldn't happen really. If they've seated you, but somebody went to the front, hey, how you doing? Sit down. Then they should come up to you afterwards. But sometimes it's like, I don't know. I think they're a lot more honest. In the same way, if you go to a supermarket in the UK, they'll kind of be like, oh, it should be somewhere around there. And it's not they don't want to do their job properly. It's like, I'm not bothered about giving you the best customer service. It sounds really bad, but it's like almost as if like, look, I don't want to work here. I know I don't want to work here. Let's not pretend like I'm trying to do this apart from the money.
It's more a question of expectations too. I'm saying because I work in a grocery store. Before I was in the butchering, like I was a bagger.
Yeah.
And like baggers, like we get a lower minimum wage, but we get tips usually. Mm-hmm. So like when I was a bagger, I expected tips. So that's when I was like, when a person didn't tip me, I'm like, wow, what a bitch. Yeah, like, but then if you think about it, this is my job. I'm getting paid for being a bagger. Like, why would someone tip me for doing my job? It's more if I do a good job. Like if I smile and say, oh, have a good day and all that, then yeah. Or if I bring it out to their car. And like some people won't even tip after that, and that's when I get pissed. I'm like, come on, man. I'm like go walk yourself and bring your own shit. And like I'm here bringing my ass outside and putting your shit in your car and like having a good day. And I'm like, so I guess more expectations than anything.
So how have you guys found Belgium? So I know you've only been here. You've just got in today, haven't you? You've got in today, but
yeah, well,
how have you found it so far?
We arrived in Belgium 2 days ago, but we arrived in the Charleroi airport, which is more towards the south of Belgium, and anyway, south of Brussels. And we got there, we thought the city looked nice, so we stayed there another day, and it was funny. We stayed there another day because our hostel was nice, except for when we stayed there, the hostel was probably one of the nicest spots. They had another nice spot, like with the train station was really nice, except for the rest of that was a very like kind of mediocre place. And the guy came up to us asking for, he was selling ribbons for funding his band's event or something like that. And he gave us this whole backstory. Anyways, and he's like, where are you guys from? We tell him, well, he asked us where we're from and then said, oh, it must be Quebec. And we're like, yes, because he recognized our French accent. And then he's like, what are you doing in Belgium, or especially this spot? Like, oh, we're just visiting, backpacking. He's like, well, why'd you pick here? And it sounded kind of weird, but apparently that spot's going through pretty rough times right now for business-wise,
right.
like economical-wise. So like, well, why are you visiting here? Like, and then he no joke. I don't know if it was him or another one came up to us. They asked like, oh, how's the employment in Canada? Because they're thinking like, no joke. They're thinking like, they want to know like how easy it is to find a job there, because apparently it's really tough in their corner like to find a job these days.
No way. Do you know, it actually brings me back to I met somebody when I went down one of my friend's house. He was actually Belgian, but he's just in love with Canada. This was one of my friend's houses, and he
Smart
was
man.
Yeah, he was at Belgium himself, but he was just back in the UK, and he was like, nah, I want to go back to Canada. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was just, I remember like, you are a Canada-phile. He goes, yeah, I am. I really enjoy it down there. Can't remember exactly where he worked, but this is like, I remember being with Canadians in Belgium. Yeah, he was big time. He was a lovely guy, very quiet, but a huge wrestler. He was like loved his wrestling and stuff like that. Like he actually did wrestling. But no, it's definitely. To be fair, I thought Brussels was a bit dead.
Yeah, I was expecting to be a lot more lively for sure.
Yeah. Like I googled the amount of nightclubs and stuff here, and there's none, and also everything's shot on a Saturday as well, which is Sunday. Yeah. When you're traveling.
But even Neil, you and I walked around Saturday night, and there were people around, but there was nothing really going on that we could see.
Yeah, and there was nobody like going to anywhere, doing anything. People just kind of meandering,
just kind of walking around. Like the Grand Place was the busiest part yesterday that we saw.
And that's just people taking pictures.
That's just people taking pictures and looking around. Yeah.
I kind of expected it because it's not tourist season. Like this is all local people. That are
that's true.
Seeing, students are usually at school right now. So like no one's really traveling, just like the odd people out who are not in school right now or like taking time off to travel. But if not, like it's really not towards the season in March. Starting like later on, then I'm sure it's busy here. Like Brussels is a famous place, but like right now it's pretty quiet, which is not that bad. It's fun to have a little space there, but it's fun to be with people also.
I did really enjoy the tour we went on today.
Yeah,
kind of really brightened up my view of Brussels because we were just walking around getting lost, and we didn't know what anything meant. We saw some cool buildings, but he really put some context behind it, and that helped a lot for me.
Yeah, and especially some of the parts that we looked at, and there were specific tops of the tops of the buildings that are point. Like one building is pointing at another building, which is pointing at another building, and that was kind of awesome. Yeah, that was really cool. But saying that at the same time, like I wouldn't have noticed that because the buildings are so intricate. You're like, oh, there's gold on that building, but you didn't notice the specific things about the specific things. But at the same time, like the building that I forgot what it's called, the City Hall is like unequal, and there's some dark stories about the Jewish from that.
The
St.
church, the
Michael's
cathedral, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, this casually just points out, oh well, there was this plague that went round, and they blamed it on the Jews. That lived up the hill, but it wasn't the Jews. So there's literally in stained glass windows of these guys with big noses stabbing. I forgot what it's called.
Eucharist?
Yeah, stabbing the
bread.
In the bread, the bread that they religiously in French is called the hostie, because that's just how you call it. No, that's how you call it, anyways. And it's really interesting. And plus, our tour guide pointed out that that's literally the only thing that they show on all the stained glass except for one. The other one was the angels coming down and bringing the people up to heaven or down to hell.
Contemplation.
But other than that one big window, all the rest of them were about that one event in bubonic plague.
And the one coming back to that, the guy that funded it apparently paid 300,000 euros, and would you consider that egotistical? The fact that he's actually in the bottom. He goes, no, if I'm paying for this, I want to be in the bottom of this.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty there's part genius and part you're just a dick.
Yeah. There's not everyone would do that for sure, because it's kind of like, it's a religious place. You want it to be kind of neutral. Well, neutral to some extent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Except for this guy, he's like, if I'm putting 300 grand of my own money, I'm gonna be in this stained glass portrait. So that was definitely pretty funny. But just the history in this city is amazing, especially the city hall, and how it was off architecturally, and stuff like that. It's just really fun to see.
So you don't really have any. So obviously we saw a load of buildings today, and they're kind of nice and majestic and broad. And obviously I've seen them before around Europe, but Canada doesn't have anything like that. If you see what I mean, or you were saying you're blown away by it.
Well, we're blown away because, say, these monuments here, okay, like these giant buildings. These were built for the second time in 1630 something, right? I think
between the 1650s and 90s.
Yeah, between 1650s and 90s when they went up. I don't remember this exact date. I think it might have been just even before 1650. I'm not sure. It just, anyways, definitely in that region. Canada, the first settlers, I'm going back in my history here. The first ones came to Montreal in 1608, I think, is Montreal. Not even. No, Montreal's way late. 1608, it's Quebec, I believe. Yeah, that's Quebec is 1608, and then after that, it was Three Rivers, and then after that was Montreal.
It just keeps going down.
It goes down the St. Lawrence River, which is the way into Canada, kind of like by boat. And so that was, by the time they came to Montreal, was probably around the same 10, 20-year period they built these buildings. And they were just getting to Montreal, which was inhabited which was habited by the Native Americans. But they were never building anything as big as this, like not even close to that, So that's pretty much why at that moment we weren't building the same things. And then, you go in like the eras, and then by the time they built that, there's a lot of old buildings, especially in the old Montreal port. There's some older buildings, but even then they're old, but not as old as here, and that's why there's a big difference.
The point of Montreal, we don't want to keep what was old. It was a progressive society, and they want to change. Like the buildings might be old, but the point of that building, they don't keep it, to keep the old facts about it. It's really.
I would consider Montreal an old city for Canada, though. To me, I don't know about you guys. You guys have been there a lot more than I have, but I always kind of consider Montreal a little slice of Europe in Canada. Because you go to Toronto, it's like a concrete jungle. Everything, it's not a nice looking city. You guys can attest to that. And Ottawa, same thing. Montreal to me it's a nice city. It looks nice. It's laid out really nicely.
I said, if you look at Montreal, there's construction everywhere and all year round. They never stop trying to build stuff. They always want to go at the higher step. That's what, but here, there's barely any construction. We saw a bit, but there's barely anything. They really they do it one time and it's always contact. It always stays like that. But Montreal, it's crazy how much construction going on.
I don't know if this has anything to do with why there's not too many tall buildings here, but whenever I was in Amsterdam, they explained that Amsterdam was built on a river, or built on water, basically. So they built it up. And they can't physically build buildings to a certain height because they'll collapse because the ground's not strong enough underneath. There's like if you guys are going to Amsterdam, it's actually amazing to see like the canal systems that they dug out in the ditches and dams. It's unbelievable.
It's the same with London. Like they can't build; they have to put wires straight down miles underground, or hundreds of meters underground, in order to support the buildings. But that's why, for example, New York, the buildings are straight up in the sky.
Yeah.
And with us, with London, we're nowhere near as tall. We just can't physically build because the ground. It's like, I can't remember exactly, but the ground's slightly different, so we can't build as high. But Montreal, I don't know.
But the Thames used to be like almost double the size that it is today, the Thames River.
This is the point where I should know about my country, and I don't. But I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But it used to be apparently.
But that seems the way that cities gradually go. They shrink the river. All the major cities, the rivers were super important for trading. The ports were. That's why they're the major cities that they were.
You saw the Thames, right?
Yeah.
The color of the water isn't
absolutely
it vile?
Disgusting. Yeah, like I would.
It's like a browny, greeny.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting, dude.
A lot of it is kind of, and that's why we go to other countries. And go look at their water; it's so beautiful. And it's just apparently it's because they used to dump all of their chemicals and waste in that water, so it used to apparently stink.
But they wouldn't have known any different back then.
Well, they finally figured out a sewage system in order not to put it straight in the Thames. But that's why it's that horrible. I don't know if you've ever seen the Thames or the colour of the Thames. It is. It's like a mixture of dark brown and like dark green. It's earthy and the smell's gone, which is good. But that was like a couple of 100 years ago now. But you come to the UK and you're like, this is it. And they talk about the Thames like it's this great thing. Just
more historically, I think. Now it's nothing really other than just shitty water.
Yeah, literally shitty water. Is there any places that you guys have got planned, not just on your trips, but any countries that you wanted to visit? Do you know what I mean? That you want to like tick off on your bucket list?
Since I was young, I always wanted to be to Hawaii. Hawaii's been up there. I'd love to visit all around California, do that strip up there.
Do like the Northwest kind of thing.
Exactly, and also Greece. Greece would be a top there. I'd love to stay in Greece for a whole month. I could do that for sure.
Why Greece? That's so specific.
I don't know, cause my parents have been to Greece, and like, I don't know why. I saw pictures and it just looks so beautiful, and I'm pretty sure. I don't know if maybe once I get there I wouldn't like it, but I think.
Are you into like the history side of Greece or like the beach side of Greece? Both.
I like to say that. That's why if I go, I'd like to stay there a while because I could go do the historical part, then relax,
then just kind of kick
go
back
by the beach and have some drinks. Like that'd be amazing. I think.
For me, I think Neil, you've kind of been talking about your trip to Southeast Asia, and I really want to do like a Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Bali. Definitely got to go to Bali. So I think that's probably my next trip. Maybe save a little bit of money.
Yeah.
You know, you laugh about it a bit. Let's go see these, kind of like you say, more exotic. You know, like right now we're going from very urban cities to like more urban cities, and I want to change up a bit and actually completely kind of off topic. I follow this guy on Instagram. His name is Real Tarzan or something like that. Okay. And he goes around and he went to the a couple days ago he posted he went to the Amazon forest, and he went to go see like native tribes in the Amazon forest. And it just looks so fascinating, and I'm so that's one of the things that I would love to do is to just go completely rural. Just there's one thing backpacking off the grid. Like I'd say at some point if I'm later in life, just a couple of friends, maybe I don't know, but go down and just get off the grid and just live like that. A lot of people live off their land. I wanna live through that because. From where I'm from and stuff like that, you go to the grocery store, you get your food there. You go back to your nice electricity provided home, take your food out of the fridge, all that. I would really like to experience something completely contrary to that. I would love to see what it's like to. Well, I'm a big fisherman too, because maybe some of that comes to that too. But I want to go. I want to have to go catch my supper. I want to, find a way to I want to build a house I live in. I think that'd be really cool. So if I
sound like Ted Kaczynski over here.
No. But
who's that?
The Unabomber.
I have no idea. You've got to explain that one now.
So the Unabomber, he's the exact same way. He's always talked about doing this stuff, and he thought our current society was really bad for civilization or people. Like we were meant to be, like you said, fishing and all this stuff. So he actually did go off the grid and built his own house, and he foraged and he hunted and fished his own food. And then he took it to a level that he really got irritated with modern society. So he started creating these bombs in the house that he built, and he'd send them in the mail to like famous professors and all this stuff. And you guys never heard of the Unabomber before?
No, never.
Yeah, you guys got to check it out. It's super fucked up, but yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to become.
No, I hope not. I hope not. I really don't. Anyways, but I'm just saying. I'll just come back to a loop on that. I'd like to see what it's like to be really more off the grid and rely less on society and just see more for yourself and what it's like. That I think that'd be like that really interests me to see that.
You're not gonna find that here because society has changed. You should probably go back a couple years, and maybe you'll finally get to that stage. But these years, you're not gonna find.
Well, I think speaking location-wise, I think more South America would be my best chance to find that is where I'm thinking of.
Or maybe Asia, or even Africa if you want to go to like certain
maybe.
rural parts of Africa.
It's like in Galway, we went to buy the sea, the bay there. And there are people who are collecting. We're not even sure exactly what they were, but they're like these little fish, and like they had bags full of these. They're like this small. Like I don't know exactly.
Size. Around a nickel.
A €1 coin.
It was like a shelled fish around a nickel, and we saw them. We thought they were getting oysters. So we went up close to them. We wanted to help them. We're like, oh, this sounds so cool, you know. It was early in the morning because there was a low tide, like a really low tide in Galway, and we go up to them. And we're like, what are you guys taking? And they show us. And basically, we were able to spot a couple on the ground for ourselves. We didn't do anything with them, but we saw them. And basically, it's kind of like a mix between I'm gonna say like a small snail / mussel. So it has like the black outside shell, kind of like a mussel, but it lives inside its shell, kind of like a snail, and just the one little hole where it attaches onto things. And they pick them and pick like bags full, bring them home. They boil them for 20 minutes. And these things come right out of the shell. They pop right out, and apparently it's like they love it. It's delicacy. They think it's like really good.
By there's like 10 people all with their huge ass bags, like their big ass boots, like they're going in the water looking for these little freaking
and
things.
And this would have been on a Thursday or Wednesday morning. So this is middle of the week. These are people, locals, who do this for themselves. They don't sell it to anyone else. They do it for themselves, and they have supper like that. Yeah, it's really cool. And I was like, well, how do you cook it? Because I was interested. I was like, how do you eat this? And they say, yeah, you boil it for 20 minutes. They pop right out of their shells, and then you throw some sauce and marinade or some spices on that, and apparently it's delicious.
Damn. Well, I never knew about that. Oh.
None of us. We just learned that right there at the moment.
Is there anything that I'm trying to think if there's any weird stuff that I've found locally that...
Southeast Asia, you probably had some weird meals.
You know what? It's surprising. I've not had that. I've had like mixed seafood, anything. Not really anything like. Oh, I've had some tarantulas on a stick, which is a barbecue tarantulas on a stick. Apparently,
really?
In Thailand. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I don't know if I can eat insects.
Have you guys ever eaten crickets before? Fried crickets?
Yeah. No.
Actually, really good. Like it's just crunchy, but it tastes fine.
Does it look like a cricket? Is it actual like an actual cricket?
Yeah, it's full on crickets. But we have a biodome in Montreal, and they have a little gift shop in it. And actually, in the gift shop, they sell little like packets of insects that you can eat. They have chocolate ones, they have just spiced ones, and it was one of the things that we bought on a dare. On the bus back. I bought like 2 packets, and other people bought a bunch of packets. We were like daring people to try it. And one of the things was mealworms, fried mealworms, like the long mealworms, and they had like this spice on it. It actually doesn't taste like worm at all. You can't really taste anything other than the spice.
What does worm taste like, though?
Yeah, full of protein.
Yeah, they're all chock full of protein.
Yeah.
But the first time I had crickets, it was ice cream, and it looked like it had chocolate chips in it. But you started eating it, and it was crunchy. Like,
got 'em.
So what the hell? It was crickets, but man, it was absolutely delicious. And yeah, like you said, they're chock full of protein. So
I don't know what's worse, expecting chocolate chip ice cream and getting cricket ice cream, or expecting a chocolate chip cookie and getting raisin cookie. Like I don't know which one's worse.
Raisin cookie's worse, man. That's just like there's a line that you can't cross.
This is one of the things I've been thinking about as well, because I was looking at crickets and how they could be the future of kind of thing. But I think it depends on how you present it. So the reason why I think chicken and beef and stuff we have that is because we can separate the animal from the product that we're eating. And we actually see an animal and go, can we kill that and eat it? Most people go,
hundreds of years.
Yeah, but I mean, for cricket specifically, I'm just thinking of like, the Lion King, with like the bare necessities, Hakuna Matata, like that kind of thing. But I think, as society, do you think they'll skip straight over crickets and go straight to just like the way vegan food's coming? Because obviously that's kind of the future, not future, but like animal substitutes rather than going to crickets. Because I think people would rather go, listen, I'd rather go straight to eating animal protein, eating plant protein than eating animal protein.
I think personally they'd have to powder it first, and then as people accept the fact that they're eating the powder of the, like, say, powdered cricket, I don't know how that would work, but I feel like it's a thing that you can make, and then kind of make it, you put it into, either put it into like a smoothie or something as kind of like a protein powder, and then once you socially accept the fact that you're having cricket powder, I think it'd be way easier to just go to the next level and be like, oh, well, for cheaper you can get the full cricket, and then starting there, and then actually accessorize. But I don't know. Personally, it'd be hard for me. I'm not saying that I'd be ready to just go straight on, like, bring that as a snack to my school or whatever. But
imagine showing up with a bag. I bet you. Do you know what? I bet you in Asia that's kind of more normal. Just go, yeah, we'll have a. Don't know if it's in Africa. It's more normal as well. But some people go, yeah, we just bring the. Like, instead of ready salted crisps, you've got ready salted crickets.
I would have no problem with it, honestly. But you were saying, like, skip straight to veganism or whatever. From my personal experience, I really don't see that as a possibility because I think, especially in North America, meat is like a huge source of protein, and a lot of people wouldn't be too keen on giving that up very easily. I don't know. What do you think about that, Liam?
Well, I don't know. I don't really think about the subject. Like, I love meat, but I do care about animals also.
And you work with butchers, so
that's it. Like,
so he sees what these meat products go through, and he still eats
not
meat.
Not as much, because like meat's in a grocery store, so like we receive the meat already cut and like everything. Like we don't get full cows
right
in our fridge. So like we get the pieces all cut, like they're all separated. So all I see is meat and fat, and then you slice the fat off, and then we have the meat. So I guess like because of that, we don't think of it as much. Like I'm not think, oh, like that's like the back of the cow. And then it goes back to that. Like that, you have to really think about. I do maybe, but when I'm cutting it, I don't think about it as much. But I do. Like after a while, I'm like, shit. Like that was a cow living.
So what do you think about when you're cutting it up?
Well, I don't know. Like
I'm hungry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like no, like yeah, you do.
Great in a burger.
Exactly, you do. Like I'm a big meat lover. I would not be able to go vegetarian. Definitely
No,
not.
me neither, dude.
A good ass steak, I can eat that every day for sure. Can't go wrong with a good steak, but yeah, like definitely. And I'm in the fish department too, and like there's a new thing it's called like Ocean Wise. It's like a thing like like they still like kill the fish to have that, but like they're better treated. Like they're treated better, like
More ethically done.
Exactly. So maybe if you could transfer that to me and make it a bit better, because like I've never been to a butcher house, but I can't even imagine the view how it is. I'm like they don't give a shit. Like they'll slice a cow's head off and that's it.
But I think the industry in the States for dairy and beef it's really nasty business. Like they have cows like just living in their own shed. Like I know cows typically do that, but I mean I'm talking about like feet of it. Like then they have like no space to run free or roam free and graze on the grass. Like that's what they're supposed to do. Like they're very simple creatures, right?
This is not just an American problem. This is, I think, a worldwide problem. But definitely, we have the same thing in Europe. For sure, we have the same thing in Europe. And like the kind of battery farming and stuff like that as well, and the chickens that grow up in
pigs
just pens.
And it's an absolute nightmare. And for that reason, I can see why people think vegetarianism and veganism as an alternative, because they want to kind of get rid of these practices. But
the ethical perspective as well.
I just think this industry got too big, and the people that are running it are getting too greedy.
Like when we went from Dublin to Galway, we were taking a train. Like we saw so many cows and sheep, and they all have like this the Irish flag on them, and like they have so much space. But like I don't know, like is that like a thing in Ireland? Like they really just have everyone has their own sheep and cow farm.
I would honestly agree with that more than what we're seeing in some of these like highly industrialized farms. Like having a few cows or a few sheep and maybe sharing with your neighbors, and maybe they grow some vegetables or fruit and kind of sharing amongst yourself. That's a way more sustainable way of living, I completely think.
But if they could find a way of... I think we're only about 20 years away from creating a beef alternative that tastes better than beef. Now, if that was the case...
Well, they already have that. Like, so the vegetarian option is made of soy. Like, you can't even tell the difference. Most often.
I think there is a difference, but I mean, in 20 years, it's only going to get better and better. Like, if you tasted a meat substitute 20 years ago, it's going to taste like crap. Like the way it's come.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to taste like crap, and it was like the amount of there's vegetarianism, and it's kind of coming up. So I'm thinking, if it tastes better than the actual meat, why would we go? It would kind of be only like it would be a speciality in the same way that you kind of have IKEA bookshelves, or no, this was a handcrafted bookshelf. This is actual meat, so things are like slightly different. So I think it gets to a stage where I think a society will kind of grow out of eating animal meat because it won't taste as good, and that's basically the main reason why we're on meat at the moment, if that makes sense.
For me, I think it's mostly nourishment because the protein. You just like when you eat plants, especially for like a big guy, it's really hard to put up the same amount of protein numbers with plants as it is to just eat a steak, and they have like 30 grams of protein right there.
Yeah, you're right, but I think at the same time, if we can genetically modify like chicken wings on a tree. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
that
right.
kind of thing where it's like we're not actually harming the animal, we're just taking part of the animal, like growing it on a tree, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
Kind of like nourishing it how
so
we
it's
want.
the same nutritional benefits, all that, but no harm to the animal.
Yeah, and you got different, and then it'd even be like you've got this is the barbecue chicken wing tree, this is the chicken drumsticks, stir fry, but like Szechuan tree, so you can literally flavor it that way, so not just chucking the flavor in at the end. If that makes sense.
The only question I would have with that is, so it sounds great in practice, but so no cows are really dying other than natural causes. So wouldn't we become like overrun with cattle and?
But we're only growing them because we need meat. If you see what I mean. If we're not growing them because we need meat, we'd save a lot more. Do you not think?
But they're still gonna repopulate and.
But we're growing them because, like, for example, the milk industry, like they're rejecting with the hormone that just keeps. I make it sound like I'm this huge vegan person. I've just gone out and eat meat, like eating ham. So I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm on a high horse here. That's horse. Another thing that no,
I've never eaten horse meat before.
Do you know we had this kind of scandal in the UK a while ago where it was in the beef lasagnas they were putting horse in, and people were outraged in the UK. And I was like, it's a $1.99 for a lasagna, and you're going to complain that it's got horse meat in it, really? And what kind of quality do you think honestly was in it?
If anything, I've had horse before at my place, and if anything, I find horse meat's kind of a higher end meat than beef. So it's taking away Bambi from eating deer, right? So no joke. It comes down to that, and it's also a culture thing. Like, obviously, like, I have a dog. Never in a million years would I eat her. But some countries, it's not rare to see it. And it's kind of the same thing for here. It's because we have a lot of people.
Would you ever try it, dog meat, if you were in said country?
I don't know. I honestly can't tell you, because right now I'm just thinking of the dog I have back home. Wouldn't be able to do it.
I see those
except for
eyes
it's so cute. Except for I really like trying different types of food. So I think that it would be an on the spot decision that I take. Either I do it because
I don't even have a dog, and I would not be able to.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
But then what makes it? Yeah, that's the thing. What makes a dog that different from eating a cow? Not a cow, but for example, a lot of people have rabbits as pets. But rabbits kind of, I wouldn't say it's delicate. It's kind of commonly.
Rabbit
ate.
meat's delicious too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the meats I try is for when we have fondue. By the way, I'm not saying that we have like a horse steak on a regular basis, but like there's a store near us that like we try like a bunch of different exotic meats when we have fondue, including like camel, kangaroo, alligator. They sell all that at the store near where we live. Yeah, that's
for
it.
frozen like fondue meat, but like I've never had it. I've never tried it. We don't
No,
have much fondue.
kangaroo by far is my favorite meat that I've had.
Kangaroo's really good. Ostrich as well is it's like a chicken but much better. It's like a half mix between like chicken and red meat.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I don't really understand how it's almost like a red meat, because it's a bird, right? And most birds have like white meat. You think of like chicken, but ostrich are known because they have like almost like a red beefy taste to it.
Yeah, but it was a mix between the two. So
It's like a hybrid kind of.
Yeah, and it was so good. That was years ago now. So basically, they have this market in Birmingham. It's called the German market. It comes every so often, and they just have these burgers. And they've got you can have literally springboks, or like kind of deer, zebra, and then you've got you got kangaroo and you've got ostrich. So the first year I went, I remember going, oh, it's expensive. It's £8 for a burger. You know, there's no point. But then the second time, I'm like, do you know what? You don't get to try these things very often. Just do it for the experience, you know? So it was brilliant. I loved it.
The ostrich burger.
Ostrich burger was so good. Bit of caramelized onions.
Nice.
That was brilliant.
And you guys both said kangaroo meat was your favorite.
If you're looking for the most tender meat ever, kangaroo is probably the most tender I've ever tasted. Like, you literally can't pick it up. You have a problem picking it up with your little fondue fork because it just detaches right there. And then once it's in the fondue, sometimes it just melts away. Like, it's that tender. And like when you're eating on it, it melts in your mouth. It's so good.
It's hard to believe because I think kangaroos are pretty hard motherfuckers.
You go to Australia and they're kind of, I think there's more kangaroos than there are humans in Australia.
Have you guys seen videos like they try to kidnap like people's dogs and then like
What?
people actually like
What?
fight like fist fight kangaroos
Why are they trying to kidnap dogs? What, to eat them?
to eat them? I assume. Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen some like videos on YouTube. I don't know if they're fake. The pretend the kangaroos that are all.
I think
swollen
some are
stuff.
actually like pretty juice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're definitely big, but on YouTube, you can't trust anything you see.
Yeah.
Biceps this big, no way.
And a 6-pack. And
Yeah.
tattoos down one side.
Yeah, I know, but I think I know what the video you're referencing. Like, it was a guy. Yeah, it was a guy who was like, a girl was filming a guy run out because the kangaroo was trying to take the dog away, and he went out to defend his dog, and the kangaroo like stood him
What
up.
do you mean by take him? Like, it was like, come on, come with me, or was it just like, no,
I
you're
don't.
coming with
I don't
me,
know
like,
if that was in the start of the video. I think it was the girl doing the play-by-play in the back. Anyways, I'd have to see that video again. But the guy definitely runs out to go save his dog, and then he has to square up with the kangaroo.
Damn.
Yeah.
It might not be. We've run out of. Have we run out of beer? I think we're close to. How's everybody feeling with it? Decent.
Yeah, doing good.
Feel anything.
Are you sure we picked a strong enough
This guy's a
one?
Canadian truck. Okay, I'm telling you
Really?
right
I
now.
could go for 6 more for sure.
Wow. I don't know if it'll be. Well, what time is it? It's 8. It's coming up to 8.
I could probably go for 6 more, but then I also have to get up tomorrow morning and make my way to Paris, and I really don't want to miss that train. So
What are you looking forward to in Paris as well?
in Paris, well, like I said, I've already been there, so I've done most of the touristy things. Like I've been on the Eiffel Tower. I've done the Louvre. So maybe like just kind of like we did today, just kind of like walk around, kind of get lost a little bit and see a little bit of the
Be
culture.
a lot more busy down there.
Yeah, I think so. I'm kind of hoping that the hostel's a little more lively than this one.
Because literally at the moment there is us and one girl on the phone. Like this is it. And yesterday when we first met, it was just us two just sitting. I was like, is this a prank? Almost like because there was nobody here.
And this is a pretty high-end hostel. Like it's nice, really nice. And I was
It might be a big busier, but it's not going to be as busy as the summertime again. It's not the season.
Paris, you mean?
Yeah.
You're right.
Like, there'll be some tourists, but maybe some old folks. But you're not going to find students because everyone's at school still.
You say that, but when I was traveling around Southeast Asia and everything, it was full. It was like I didn't encounter a hostel like this ever.
Yeah.
Like, what month was it?
I did March. It was about this time last year, March to May.
And
I don't know how their school works exactly.
when I was in London, it was all travelers, same
yeah?
age as me, and just like ready to get drunk and have a good time.
That's just UK in general. The UK generally, and including Ireland, just any excuse to get drunk and have a good time is just the standard thing to do.
Exactly. It's like we're in Dublin. All students were there. Yeah, it was for St. Patrick's Day. After St. Patrick's Day, half of the population dropped. Galway is all old folks are known at all. It's like it really changed dramatically.
I was honestly shocked to see like older people in the hostel room. My first day
Yeah.
here in Brussels, I walk into my room. And there's like a 40-year-old and a 55-year-old man.
Do you know what? I just bumped it. I went into my room and the light was off, but I heard some like scuttling. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Walked in and the two people that I said, you remember I was saying that they were snoring really badly. They've gone. They're so nice. And then this guy from Germany, he's come here for a business tomorrow, so he's kind of pulled in today. I'm gonna sleep. I said to him, and I was like, thank God they've gone, because now I can finally get some decent sleep. I was hallucinating last night because their snoring was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I tell you what, I don't know if you've had any bad hostel experiences so far, or most of the time mine have been fine, but Oh, you've got a story.
Well, we don't.
He doesn't have a story because he's not awake for them.
Yeah, I can't say I'm not a snorer because
The
like,
plot twist arrives.
especially the last couple of days, I have my nose been blocked. So like right away, right when I'm falling asleep, I feel my mouth is already open because I can't breathe from my nose. So then I'm like, oh fuck, this is gonna be a snoring night. And I know Matt definitely heard it, and
But it
I
doesn't
can't help it.
But it doesn't bother me because for like I fall asleep. Like I told you guys earlier in the day, but I'll say it again. Like I just fall asleep whenever I'm tired. I just pass out, and then it's hard to wake me up. And then also another thing is that Liam, I think it was like 2 nights ago, was sleeping. I was playing like solitaire on my phone or whatever, and I couldn't hear Liam snoring because 2 other guys were snoring way louder, and I'm just like, okay, me, Liam, the 2 other guys. That means there's 2 more people left in our dorm, and I feel so bad for them. I'm like, I don't know how they're surviving right now, but like I know I can fall asleep, but someone who can't fall asleep easy, good luck. Like honestly, good luck.
You just have to learn to live with it, honestly, when you're traveling, because if that's gonna bother you, like I feel like you're not gonna get a lot of sleep on your travels.
Do you know what? Most of the time I've been okay. It was just this time. For
Those
some
2
reason,
guys just really were
just
going
the
at it.
combination of them 2 and that frequency just drilled into my ear. There was one other time when there's a guy, a Haitian guy I met traveling. Actually, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Really, really cool. But his snoring, it woke me up with fright. I've never had that in my life because it was just nothing and then just. And I was like, jeez, what was that? What was that? I woke up at like 3 a.m. at the time to go, oh my God. And that happened again and again and again and again. Again, loveliest guy in the world, but he snored. He smoked weed like a lot as well. And I doubt that was one of the indications that didn't help as well.
The most annoying thing for me so far has been not the snoring, but the people coming in extremely late, like I was telling you last night.
Yeah.
People coming into the hostel at like 3 a.m. and unpacking his bag and repacking his bag, looking for God knows what. What's going on here?
They're playing Plastic Boys at the moment.
Actually, why are you playing Backstreet Boys right now?
You got a problem with that?
No, I actually like this song, but Jesus.
Is this going to make you emotional after all these 6 beers?
Actually, wait, let's stop the conversation. Should I go buy more beers?
Are we taking a vote?
I would. Because, like,
Yeah.
I could I barely feel it. I could
I'm
drink
gonna say
6 more
it's a
beers.
for sure vote yes for me. Like I don't know why.
So you want me to go walk alone, or you gonna come with
Oh,
me?
we might come.
I
Stop
vote
it.
yes for you too, but not for me.
Just one last story before we go. I just have to remember it. I don't remember. Okay, never mind.
Is that the alcohol kicking in a little bit?
No. It's just it happens pretty often. I'm trying to remember where the train of thought was. It was something about.
Train has left the station.
What were
big
we
time.
just talking about?
Alcohol, snoring, and then
wake in a hostel.
yeah, or any bad hostel
Oh,
experiences.
I got it. Okay, the ending story. Okay, because we're gonna go with these beers. It's because the Backstreet Boys just came on, and a funny story about that is because we have our music back home.
Yeah.
And then first day when we arrive in Ireland at the hostel, they're playing like traditional Irish music. We're like, oh, okay, I guess that's how it is here. Second day too. And then the third morning, they started playing like XXXTentacion. They were playing some some North American trap, like. So we're listening to that. We're like, oh, okay, cool. And then we're like jamming to that. One guy's like, oh yeah, I like it. We're in Galway in a super like rustic bar. Okay, like only locals go there, and locals and whoever's in the region. But there's not many people in the region. We end up sitting at a table with some South Africans. And we're just talking, have a good time, asking them, but what are you guys doing on your trip? What are we doing? Just exchanging, good conversation. And the song "Country Roads" comes on. Okay.
Was
What-
this before the meme came out, or?
This was like a couple days ago.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, and the song comes on, and the South Africans just go crazy, and we're looking at them like, what? And then they're just like, they're singing it full like "Country Roads," and we're like, and so the song passed. Like, you guys know that song? Like, of course we do. Like, I'm like, okay, well, don't mean to sound like uncultured or anything, but like, you guys listen to like that type of music? I'm like, yeah, like that music, like that goes all the way. Like, and it's funny because the song is about country roads in West Virginia, making the guy feel like home. memorized 100% by South Africans.
That's
So
crazy.
that was just a story I thought I'd share before the end.
I guess so. Anyway, I think we're going to call it a time here. It's been an hour and 4 minutes since we started already. But anyway, is there
Is
anything...
that typically long for you?
Well,
or?
what it is, if I do mine, I tend to do it 20 minutes. Because if I'm speaking on my own, I'm like, things haven't been that exciting, I'll only do 20 minutes. If I'm going on a bit, I'll do 40.
I was thinking we'd land at the 2-hour mark tonight.
Really?
That's what I was kind of thinking.
We can come back and do another hour if you like.
Does
After we
it?
go-
I
we can
mean,
go. It's the time limit's unlimited. YouTube's unlimited, so we can go as long as we want.
cool.
But
Yeah.
it depends on what you guys want to do.
Doesn't matter
Lots
to
of
me, man.
drinks as well. We can pause it, come back. So it's up to you.
Awesome.
To be honest, but yeah, I think plenty of time. Depending on, well, I know you guys are gonna have some more
All
alcohol.
right, so we'll be back after a few advertisements.
maybe. Yeah, advertisers now. This podcast was brought to you by Drumsticks. Find some near a drum studio or a chicken near you. No, I'm kidding. This is post-match Neil. So you're wondering why I can't hear Brady, why I can't hear Liam, and why I can't hear Matt. The reason why we got back to the UK. Basically, when we recorded this, it was a good hour. It was an hour. We'd gone out to get some drinks, came back, and then it was just time to end. We all felt it. So the energy was very different once they came back. Just around the group in general. But I'd like to thank Liam, Brady, Matt for all coming on and for being such good sports about wanting to do this as well. So if you want to follow any of them, links to the Instagrams will be in the description below and you'll probably see them on screen. So thanks everybody for listening. This is the outro. It will be an hour long and I'll speak to you all in the Ned podcast. Really looking forward to this one. It will be with Marco and his time in Denmark and I'm really excited to bring it to you. All right, I'll speak to the next one. Bye-bye.